Okay, sorry for the delay uh, in getting this all set up, but I decided, I do something that people who work with me will recognize, which is whenever I'm showing someone something, I always insist they give me a little piece of scratch paper to draw on, and this is no different. I think it'll be fun to kind of be able to sort of sketch out my ideas instead of just explain them verbally. And it's nice because the past couple of days have been relatively simple if you know about sets, and that's true for today as well. The one 2 days ago I think was, or three maybe, was really nice. Uh, the backpacks one I think was really like kind of built for sets, and this one even more so I think. So I'm going to walk through what the problem is and then how I solved it using sets in Python. And then we could think about other ways to solve it as well. Probably the one that might make the most sense if you don't have access to sets would be using a list or an array and popping things in and out of the array. But sets are going to be by far the fastest. So the problem for the sort of question for this, we get a communicator, right? And the communicator is going to receive a string of bits. Right now, we will just call them, let me just change, great. We will just say that, oh gosh, excuse me. We will just say that all the bits are going to be X, 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 right? And what we're looking for is the position where, so basically the communicator is going to read through, it's going to move one position at a time. And then once it gets to position, starting at position 4, at each window, it's going to check, are these distinct? And, in this case, if they're all X, they're not, but we're saying they're some random letter, right? And if they're not distinct, it will move on to the next position. It'll check these four, and then it'll check these four, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So it goes on and on like this. And the first position at which it finds they're all distinct, that's the answer we need to report out. And actually, part 1 and part 2 are both the same problem, just part 1, it's looking at a 4-character window like I've drawn here, and part 2, it's looking at a 14-character window. But the problem remains the same. And so, the input is just a single line of characters, seemingly random characters. And so reading it in is pretty simple. And then we just need to come up with something that can perform this process. And so what I've done is I've used a set in Python, and sets are, you can either create one using just normal old set, and then, you could give it a list to convert it into a set, A, B, C. So that's what I've done here because we're going to just index through the string, but you can also use curly braces, A, B, C will create a set. And the nice thing about sets is they store only unique values. So for instance, set A, B, C will, the length of this is 3. And because it will only keep these distinct guys. So what I've done is I have my string. Let's say it's A, B, C, B, D, J, E, A, C, F, whatever. And I'm going to start at the first position for which we have 4 characters behind us. So in that case, it's position 3, right? Because we're 0 indexed, and that's something to keep in mind. Python is 0 indexed, but the question itself is actually 1 indexed, right? It would call C here position 4, and so we'll need to report I plus 1. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to walk along this string of characters and then create a set out of the 4 characters behind our current index. So we'll say set of those characters. And we can do that with a list, or a slice, because you can slice strings. So in this case, it would be set of the string from I minus 3, right? Because here's I, 1, 2, 3. And then we want to go to I plus 1. Because remember that this is inclusive and this is exclusive. So anyway, and then that'll give us the set, right? In this case, the value from that would be, we won't ever report this, but it would be A, B, C, right? And so this is the useful property here, because we can now measure the length. We'll just call this S equals. We can now take the length of S. And in this case, that will be 3. And so all we have to do is keep doing this over and over again until we get somewhere where the length equals 4. Then that's complete. And then for part 2, we just do the same thing, but we need the length to be 14. And so in order to do both at the same time, they'll both want to start at different positions, right? The one for length equals 14 will want to start at position 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I didn't even draw enough, so it would be somewhere out here, right? The problem is, if we start out here, if we happen to have our first repeat or our first 4 distinct character packet, then we might miss it if we start all the way out there. And so we'll just add an exception to, if there aren't enough characters to make the longer packet, just continue on. Don't throw an error. And so, if we look at what I've got here, this is exactly what I did, and you can see, it, even being pretty verbose, it only took 23 lines to do this, so it's pretty straightforward. So here's where we read in the file, right? And then I'm going to set these 2 variables. This is just so that if we get another packet or message before we have received both, so for instance, if there's 2 strings of 4 distinct characters before we get a string of 14 distinct characters, I don't want to print out the index of the second 4 unique character string. I just want to print out the first one. So that's why I've created these 2 booleans. And then, like I said, we start at position 3 and we go until the end of the character stream. And then I create a set out of that sliced list, check its length, and then if it's right, I print the value. And so that's really all it takes. And then this is the same thing, but for 14. So you can see I'm starting, I'm going from I minus 13 to I minus 1 instead of I minus 3 to I minus 1. And the important thing is this try except here, where try will say do whatever's in here, and then except says if we run into this type of error, do this. And so in our case, if we run into this index error, then we don't care. We know that for the first 10 loop, we're looping from position 3 because we're starting at I minus 3, so we need to start at position 3. We know that from position 3 through 13, we're not going to be able to make I minus 13. Or I guess position 3 through 12, we're not going to be able to make I minus 13 packet size. And so we can just say ignore that index error. It's fine. And then if we have printed both the first message and the first packet, I don't need to look at the rest of the character stream. It's not relevant for the problem. So I just say to quit. So that's it. And I hope you had fun with the puzzle. It's another great one for sets. And tomorrow will be the end of the first week. So far, pretty fun. 2 good set problems. So.